The Scottish Cup win was the fulfilment of a dream, the seed sown in a football-mad family back in the 1950s.
Very much so, yeah. Dad was very keen on the football and the Hearts as well. My brother was keen on football, and as I said, it was just really the community that I stayed in Walliford, heavily football orientated down there, and all the kids played. I mean, in these days, it's a lot different from now, and you know, the jerseys down for the goalposts and that, and that's what, you know, everybody said that is missing nowadays. But it was great. Everybody played it, and you know, it was great to get back from school, get changed on the way down, and 20 odd lads turned up and had a sort of wee kick about, so it was great.
There was one particular time when my sister was getting married, and our auntie, one of the aunties says to Jim, "What are you going to be when you leave the school?" He said, "I'm going to be a professional football player." She said, "Who are you going to play for?" I said, "I'm going to play for the Hearts."
It was in this playground at Walliford Primary School where the young Jim Jefferies began to perfect his football skills, and that was when his lifelong relationship with Billy Brown was first established.
The primary schools in the area used to play against each other, Walliford, and Billy was at Pinkie, and there used to be great rivalry there between the two teams. They had a good side, and it was always a great battle, so that was where we first came across each other. But obviously when we went to grammar school we were teammates then, and were eventually teammates, and from there we've always been very close friends.
Back in the early days it was Billy who was the better player.
Well, probably I was at that time, yeah. I mean, I was captain of the school team, and I'd played for the county team in that at primary, and yeah, it made it a wee bit easier for me to get in the A team when we went to the grammar. But I think Jim missed the trials because he wasn't well, and he got in the C team, and but he had scored a lot of goals. He was a striker at the time, and worked his way up, and got promoted beside the big boys.
It was around that time tragedy struck the Jefferies household when Jim's 8-year-old sister Elaine was knocked down and died.
Well, that's when Mum and Dad were very strong in that part, because, you know, I was just a 14-year-old at school, and into the school team at the time. It was at Christmas time. It was a terrible thing, because my sister, older sister, was my older brother, and she come back for to go to a Christmas party, and she was at the age where she was, you know, young girl, liked to hear all that for Christmas parties and everything. She come back, and she went down to the shop and she never returned, and it was a terrible time. She was hit with she lasted something like 3 or 4 days in hospital, and I can remember how it affected particularly my mum. I mean, she had to be sedated for a good period of time.
She was only 8-year-old, you know, and went for pipe cleaners for her hair. She had spine here, and she was going to a party. So I said, "Well, there's some money, go down and ask for pipe cleaners and we'll try them." Okay, well, my sister came over and did it, and never came back.
I think at the time, you know, I just wanted to forget all about football. That wasn't a concern then, and it was my dad, because I was in the school team at the time, and my dad said, "There's nothing I can do," and he just says, encouraged me to get along to the football sessions. And you know, I remember Billy was being the team, and we're going into the Scottish competition. We're doing really well. One of the competitions rounds, or getting nearer, I think it was a quarter-final, was just a week ahead or something of the tragedy, and it looked like I was just going to, you know, not see it out. But my dad said that there was nothing I could do, and these things happened, and he pushed me towards getting back in there, and I did. So, you know, even though it was tragic, they understood that these things happen in life, and you just have to get on with it. And he knew how strong I was on the football side to say there's no point. You just have to get there and make sure that you know, she would have wanted you to play anyway. He said it was a closing line. He says she would have wanted you to be there, and you've got to get through and do well for the school and get to a final, and that would have made her happy if she'd been alive. So you just have to take that advice when you're that young, you know, because you really, when you're 14, you don't tend to take it all in. It would have been much worse for obviously my mum and dad.
Jim continued to progress as a player and was all set for a trial with Sheffield United. But the scouts who spotted him were given a job with Hearts, and the young Jefferies was soon heading for Tynecastle as well.
The night they asked me to sign, I played extremely well against a Scottish select, and I think we won 5-1. It was a fantastic game, and they wouldn't let me get in the shower. I had to, John Harvey pulled me in, and my dad and an uncle that was there at the time signed me. And when I went home, David White, who was the manager of Rangers, was sitting with my mum in the house, waiting until I got home, and one or two other clubs who were desperate to get my signature after the game. It must have been one of the good performances. I was actually called into the next trial for the Scottish team that we were playing against. So it was great. I mean, as I said, I didn't even think about going to any other club. The fact that I was in there and committed myself to Hearts was fine, because it was a club that if you support as a boy, it's the first club you would pick, and I had no regrets about that whatsoever.
A broken leg disrupted Jim's progress, but he was determined to make it and had a lot of support.
John Cummins was a big influence in terms of being at the Hearts, and he had a great attitude towards training and being a winner, and I think I got on really well with him, because I think he liked that type of player to be there, and he was always encouraging there. And John Haggart, who I thought was a fantastic manager, and I got on really well with, and he was a big influence in my career as well. So very lucky at the early age with Hearts,
A spell with Gala Fairydean proved Jim had regained fitness, and in March 1972 he was given the news he'd always longed to hear.
I think it was John Cummins who kept saying to Bobby Seath, we've got to give him a chance. He's been consistent, and John tipped me off in the Brown gymnasium. He says, "The gaffers want to see you," and just gave me a wee wink, and I knew then that I had a chance of playing the next day. That was just fabulous to be told that. I just wanted to tell everybody, back down to the primary school, to tell the local janitor who I was helping running the primary school team. I used to referee the games in the afternoons. He was the first person, of course. He took me around all the classes that afternoon at the school. It was just great, and obviously a very, very one of the greatest days to be in your life, to be called in and told that you're going to play, thinking that your chance had passed you by, and after what I went through with a broken leg and that. So fortunately I had a very good debut. I mean, it was a hard game at a tough place at East Fife. They were tough match to have, but played reasonably well, and we came back from 2-0 and it ended up 2-2, so it was a reasonable debut, and just a great day.
A striker in his school days, Jim had been turned into a fullback or defensive midfielder and won over the fans with his wholehearted approach to the game.
I stood in the terracing and watched him every week. He was an enthusiastic, occasionally over-enthusiastic, wing half. Jim, I'm sure, wouldn't fall out with me if I said he wasn't the most skillful player that ever graced the turf at Tynecastle. But what he was, is he was totally committed. He was a Hearts man through and through, and he gave this club many, many years of good service.
I have to say, he wasn't a player that was as memorable as many of them. He was a very good, solid professional. I don't think he would be offended by that comment. I think a lot of Hearts players. But what he did have was tremendous determination, and always gave 100%.
I see a couple of times. I was only a young lad at the time. I think my dad remembers him playing for the Hearts more as I do. But he says that he was a good player, but I'd tough to say that.
Jim was involved in 3 relegations and 2 promotions with Hearts. He admits there were hard times, but still looks back fondly on those years when he had the chance to play for the team he'd always supported.
You're right, it was up and down. I was fortunate enough to be there all the time under 6 or 7 different managers, and played a part of, obviously played a part of going down, but played a part of getting back up, particularly when I was captain one year to get them up. But we had a lot of great games. It was great in the early years at Hearts. I think it was later in my career that was starting to go up and down when, as a club financially struggled. But in the early part of the year we were quite a successful side, and there were great times. I mean, some really good players I've played with over the years.
Jim played in just one cup final, the famous one, in which Hearts were 1-0 down to Rangers before 3 o'clock as the game kicked off early.
Rangers were a good side. I mean, they'd won the treble that year, and to give them a goal there starting the final, we had a real tough job in our hands. In fact, we steadied it a bit after losing a goal early, and it wasn't just minutes before half-time that Alec MacDonald hit it through a rookie player, and Jim Cruikshank was unsighted. So 2-0 down at half-time, we had a real mountain to climb, and pushing forward to try and get back in the game, we got caught again.
Greg allowing him to run straight towards the penalty area. Heading for the shot. This must be a goal. Graham Shaw, bold effort by Hearts at this stage. 3-1.
We got a goal back and made it respectable, but we were well beat at the end of the day. But it was a great experience, and a very sad moment at the end when you can, with your first final, when you see the other team going up to lift the cup because you dreamed all week of going up there and lifting it, but it wasn't to be. But it does give you more determination to try and get back there.
Jim had hoped for a coaching job, but in November 1981, after 349 games and 6 goals, he left Tynecastle. After a spell with Berwick Rangers, he rounded off his playing career back at Gala. Ditching plans to take over a pub, Jim was working his way up in the insurance business, when in 1985 he was finally persuaded to take over as manager of his local side, Lauder Amateurs.
No, it all started here. It was a friend of mine who persistently tried to get me to help out with the amateur team here, me being local, and a lot of the young lads, obviously a lot of Heart supporters as well. And they'd struggled for a few years, and just to come down and somebody get them right, well organised, and some great times, clearing snow off the pitches and having to get the game on. And really it was just a matter of being into it for a few weeks and realised how much I missed it and how great it was to just get a wee bit of involvement again. And it was really smashing time, never thinking for 1 minute what was to lie ahead, but thoroughly enjoyable and great, because you got real good commitment for the players, and really they were desperate to do well, and very limited obviously, and but they tried hard, and that's all you can ask for. And they had a successful season, the first season, or the only season I had them in charge, that we went from bottom of the league to a top 4 place, so at least we managed to help them along the way.
At the end of that season, Jim was approached by East of Scotland League side Hoyk Royal Albert to take over as their manager.
Oh, well, you would never believe the night I took over Hoyk. I mean, I left Lauder with a few games to go. They were out all the cups. They were in a safe position, and it was Hoyk asked me. They were ready to go from one division to the next. It was a split of the Premier League thing, and they said 12. They're in 12th position, and when you walk in and say this is a new manager, and half the team get up and walk out, and the deadline's 12 o'clock that night to sign players, and you've got a game on the Saturday. That was a tough start. So I had to use the only people I could sign were amateurs. Now, coming from playing in the amateur league, I used what I thought was a good player from the other team, and worked hard to get them in time to play on a Saturday. I mean, didn't even have a training session with them or nothing. It was just a case of phoning around the clubs, and because it was a step up for them as well and a chance to play East of Scotland League, it wasn't too difficult. But we brought in about 4 or 5 players. It turned out that the manager who was previous to me was one of the local lads, and it was all his mates that played, and they felt sorry for him getting the sack and up and walked out, and only 5 stayed. So I managed to build a team in 3 days to go and play one of the teams at the top of the league, but we got off to a great start with a 2-1 victory in Edinburgh, and it just went on, and we got them into a Premier position where I think great performance, 12 games, and we won 8, drew 2 and lost 2, and that was enough to get them in the top half. And it looked like we were going to go on and have a good season next year until Gala Fairadine approached me and asked me to take over from the manager who had resigned at that time, because it had been a long time then. David Watkins left and they were looking for a manager. We built a good side there, and you need to for that league, and they were a big club, and so we had a fantastic season. 3 trophies in the one season, great run in the Scottish Cup. Edinburgh City Cup. I think it was the first club in 26 years to win that. When you get through to the final East of Scotland Cup, which we won, ourselves and Whitehall Welfare will then go through and represent East of Scotland League against Berwick and Meadowbank, who were going for promotion to Premier League that year, and we beat them both. It was fantastic. I mean, probably the lesser of the three cups, but the one that gave me more. I was really delighted to win that trophy, more so than, I mean, the Scottish is the big one for everybody down there, financially, but the City Cup had just that wee bit special, having beaten two senior sides to get it.
Jim's success in the East of Scotland League had caught the attention of Berwick Rangers, then cast adrift as the worst team in Scotland, and in September 1988 he took over at Shielfield. The club had no money, so Jim didn't get a weekly wage. Instead, he was on £30 a point, and in those days, it was 2 points for a win.
We didn't win a game for 10, 12 weeks, so it was very difficult times, but a lot of hard work had went into it behind the scenes. And again, I used the wee strength that when I went to East of Scotland League, I picked the best amateurs, and I did the same at senior level. They were better than what they had. Some of the East of Scotland players, or semi-professional players, that Hoyk and Gallagher-Feradine and Whitehall Welfare and teams that we brought them to the club, along with one or two other games and a couple of junior players, and managed to bring in something like 15 or 16 players. Then we just went off into. I mean, I remember we celebrated two weeks on the trot where we didn't lose, and there were two draws. And one was 4-4 and one was 3-3, back to back. Hard times and difficult times, but we targeted to get the credibility back, and I think we did that.
It was at Berwick that Jim joined forces once again with Billy Brown to form what has become an enduring partnership.
It is, yeah. When Jim went there, we had Lindsay Muir there. Lindsay was actually assistant, but Lindsay was playing as well, and they obviously needed somebody else, to help out on a Saturday and at the training, and Jim asked me to come, and that's where we teamed up.
Life was a struggle at Berwick, but between them, Jim and Billy Brown transformed the team.
We sort of decided to adopt the Wimbledon method, and we put Big John Hughes up, Big Yogi up front. He was a centre half who had never played up there before. We put him up front, and we used to just knock long balls in. And we went 21 games without defeat. We got beaten our 22nd game at Albion Rovers in the last game of the season. So we turned the whole thing round. But just to give you an example how far behind they were, after that 21 game unbeaten run, we still finished second bottom of the second division, or the third division as it was at the time. So things were bleak. But really, we got it going, and the place was buzzing, and the results were good.
George Deans and Wilson Young sold out at Berwick Rangers and took over at Falkirk. A short time later, after a bizarre period in which he was both manager and chairman of Berwick, Jim followed them to Brockville. David Holmes was running the club, and the new management got off to a dreadful start.
It was David Holmes who pulled me into the office and said, well, what do you think? Because it was starting to get to the real crucial stage now, because he had told them they were going to do something they'd never done before in their history, and that was win the championship. I mean, they'd only been promoted as runners up, and then suddenly I'm the manager who's, if you know David Holmes, and he tells you, or tells them that he's going to do something, he is going to make sure that it happens. And so he asked me, and I said, well, I think this team will get you more chance of being relegated than promotion or winning the championship, because I was told before I got the job that they were a great set of players and they just needed handled and maybe one or two additions. But again, I got my own people in, and I had to sell their best players for less than what people had valued them at. But started to get the change going and built my own side there.
The side that Jim built twice won the First Division Championship and also the B&Q Cup. Even when they were relegated, they were applauded for their attractive style of play. One game towards the end of that season was to have a huge impact on the future of Hearts. In a stunning match at Brockville, Joe Jordan's reign as Hearts boss was ended by a 6-0 Falkirk victory.
I'd been tinkering around, putting in the odd letter through advisors to Wallace Mercer in those days, but the 6-0 defeat decided that there would be something a bit more serious than that. And of course, it was only a matter of weeks before, after that Wallace Mercer had his famous Amsterdam press conference and announced that the club was for sale.
I think it was just one of those days when everything went right for Falkirk. You know, at that stage we were looking like we were getting relegated, and we had, I think it was 2 or 3 games left in the season, and we really had to win all our games. So we come out, we played Hearts, and we really needed to win the game, and we did, and everything seemed to go right. You know, there was goals going in left, right, and centre. I think I even scored one. Chris has said to me since then that the day that we beat them 6-0 at Brockville, he made or gave himself a commitment that he was going to, buy Hearts. I know it took some time, but to come through, but he'd seen enough. I think we finished the Wallace Mercer era, and it came through. But he chose, and I can see the reasons why they chose an experienced manager. They hadn't a lot of experience of running a football club, Les Deans and Chris Robinson, and so you couldn't really blame them for going for somebody with experience, or more experience, should I say, than myself. And but I just worked away and said, well, if it doesn't work out, I hope to try and be in the frame, and the only way I could do that was keep being successful at Falkirk, which I was.
No, he was very much a candidate whose name was in the frame. We decided that it's a big risk getting involved in football. It was an even bigger risk getting involved in Hearts, I can tell you, at that time. And to balance the risk, we felt that we needed a manager with some experience, and hence the change that we made at that time. And it was the fact that Tommy was readily available and hadn't re-signed a contract at Motherwell that swung the balance in favour of Tommy McLean.
12 months later, Hearts were again looking for a manager. This time there was only one choice, but the appointment could hardly have been more controversial.
I probably have to say the worst time in your career. Not for the fact that it was a very, very tough decision, because your heart's always wanting to. It was always wanted to be Hearts. That's what's the strange part about it, is that you always wanted to be manager of Hearts. But you've got another side of it. Football's such a precarious job, and the 5 great years at Falkirk, people say, I treated Falkirk badly. I tend to think that's the biggest compliment I could pay them, that here was a Hearts player, supporter, desperate to manage Hearts one day, and I took that long to even think about it, and that was because of the rapport I had with the people in Falkirk, the way the club was, and the way they were progressing, and big plans ahead, and I felt one part of me wanted to be part of that, or help them towards that, because I knew what it meant to so many people. It was just a great place to be, and for such a small club. To be honest, I thought he would go. I didn't really think there was any doubt that he was going to go, because I knew he was a Hearts man. I knew he played for Hearts for a long time, and deep down he was a Hearts supporter. And I think, at the time Hearts was a good move for him, because they were struggling a little bit, and I don't think there was any doubt that he would turn them around. But I think his loyalty to Falkirk, and what they'd gave him an opportunity, and they'd done well for them, and I think he'd got a good bond with the supporters in the town as well. It was probably it was pulling him to stay there.
I think he always wanted to come to the Hearts, but I think he felt a real emotional hold at Falkirk that we had probably built so much there that it was hard just to say, well, I'm leaving now, and everything I've said, about pulling together, is finished with. But it was a difficult time, and I think maybe Falkirk tried to play on the emotional side of the thing.
And it happened in a flash. I had enough of it. I just said, well, if it's going to mean this, cause that much trouble, I'm better to stay. And suddenly I was whipped out in front of the cameras to say it. Thankfully, people noticed that it wasn't just me, like a zombie, if you like. I realised what I've done here, and when I got back, Chris Robinson couldn't believe it. He says, can't believe it myself. And that's when it all started. He says, well, what happened? And I told him the whole story. He says, seems to me you still want to be manager of Hearts. I says, well, I can't now. He says, do you want to be? I says, yeah. He says, well, we need to meet.
There was a few difficult days even then, when George Wilson at Falkirk was finding it hard to give up, and let Jim go and claiming compensation and contractual things, but we got there, and the press conference was a good moment for us, that Jim had come back to Hearts.
It quickly became apparent to Jim that big changes were needed at Tynecastle, and he began the painstaking task of revitalising the playing staff.
No disrespect to the players that were here before, I mean they all did a terrific job for Hearts, but I think the gaffer come in and he knew that he had to bring in the new faces, and he brought in, as I say, a lot of the youngsters, some of the foreigners, and he made some cracking signings, like Colin Cameron, Steve Fulton, David Weir, Big Cammy, Neil McCann. He brought all these guys in, and I think now the fans are seeing the true Hearts were up there sort of challenging Rangers and Celtic, and long may that continue.
But that looked some way off in the autumn of 1995, even though there was the satisfaction of an early home win over Falkirk.
Good running into space for Cahoon. This should be the second, it is! Going outside Midlothian. Cahoon's header! It's a great goal for Hearts! With John Robertson.
But by the next time the sides met, Hearts were struggling and were beaten 2-0 at Brockville.
That is the day. That was the day I let rip into the dressing room and told them exactly what was going to happen at Hearts. And I don't care if it doesn't go wrong. If it goes wrong, I say, the Hearts people have put up with this enough. I've seen it now after 9 games. Occasional good performance. The euphoria is over now. Me coming in, it was then to make the tough decision. Young boys would be given a chance, and not just in for one game, in for a good run at the team. And if it didn't work out, I'd lost nothing. Because I think people would have to say, well, at least he's trying to do something to get it going the right way.
Among the changes, Gary Locke was made captain. New signings arrived, and youth was given its fling.
He's brought in the aspect if you're young enough, you're good enough. I think the number of players whose careers were going stale at Tynecastle before he arrived, and he gave myself a great injection. He gave me my debut at 19, where I'd been here since I was left school at 16, so I waited about a while, and once he came I was absolutely delighted.
The form picked up, and in November '95, Jim Jefferies enjoyed his first win over city rivals Hibernian as Hearts manager.
That's awkward. Deadly finish there. John Miller appearing late in the box. Jim Leighton appear to be caught in 2 minds. The Hearts have taken the lead. Here comes Robertson. No answer to that. The power was too much for Leighton.
You've got a real lift when you beat your closest rivals, and we know how much it means to the supporters. So, being a supporter myself, and one or two of the players, Gary Locke, and it was fantastic. And obviously, when the derbies come in, they just take on that wee bit extra. So it was nice to get off to a start right in the first game.
In January '96, Hearts pulled off their best win of the season. Alan Johnston scored a hat-trick in a stunning 3-0 victory at Ibrox.
It was a fantastic, got a great record through there, particularly the last few years. So to go there and win 3-0, I did say after the game that Rangers got off lightly at 3-0 because we felt we had a couple of other good chances, but Archie remembered, Archie Knox says to me after the game, he says, I heard you on the television, and he says, you forget we didn't say much when we beat you 3-0. So you learn not to say too much, even though you've got a couple of results. And no, it was great. It was great. The supporters loved it. It was a great performance. And Sticky's individual performance was, as he gets the nickname Magic, and it was certainly magic on the day.
Ever since losing out in the 1976 Scottish Cup final, Jim had been desperate to make amends. And he began to sense he might get the chance when Hearts reached the '96 semi-final, where they faced Aberdeen.
This barrier of getting over a semi-final, I think Hearts had been favourites over the last few years. Strong favourites of getting through to a final. I think they played Airdrie twice, St Mirren, and Hearts would be looking to be in finals. And the fact that you've deprived even the supporters a great day out, whether in an opportunity to go in and get a trophy after all the years of waiting, was something that had to be overcome first before we won a cup.
Johnston's corner. There's Dave McPherson's header! Cleared by Michael Watt! And it's there! John Robertson has scored! John Robertson doing what he's best at. When the scraps are around, he'll happily take them.
It wasn't going too well, but we got the first goal and we held on for a wee while, and suddenly Aberdeen did what other teams have done to Hearts in the past. Coming down, if they got the bottle, and I think in the last 10 minutes Aberdeen equalised, but fortunately just on injury or just on time, the cross came in and Alan Johnston got the header, and that was just a fantastic feeling. As big a feeling as beating the Hibs in the first game, because we give the supporters that big day they were looking forward to, and we'd overcome a barrier to getting into the final. So that was a big game for us, and one that pleased us enormously.
Johnston's in the middle. There is Johnston's header! Alan Johnston has scored for Hearts. And this match takes another amazing twist. The cross from Robertson, and Alan Johnston was there, the powerful downward header, and it squeezed its way under Michael Watt.
Hearts hadn't won the cup in 40 years, and Jim hoped to make history in his first season in charge. But it turned out to be a desperately disappointing day in the final against Rangers.
We beat Rangers twice that year in the league, and everybody thought we were in with a real chance. I think it worked against us. I think there was a lot made of the fact that we beat them twice, and it certainly fired Rangers up. And Rangers, when it comes to finals, with the quality players they have and the way they were playing at the time as well, was always going to be difficult. And we got a couple of half chances, I think. Goran brought for a good save from Alan Lawrence. But when the first goal went in, it was always going to be difficult. And when you've got Laudrup and Jury and Gascoigne hitting you in the break, they were just phenomenal, and we got well beat. But we learned a lot of lessons that day, and you have to do that in defeat. It was a sad day, but one that we wanted to get back there as quick as possible to get it out of our minds.
And that chance came 6 months later, when the sides battled through to reach the Coca-Cola Cup final.
Walter paid us a compliment. He said to me that he realised Hearts would have a good challenge last year in the league based on that performance, because after, in May, getting beat 5-1 and then having to play them so quickly would be a measure, and especially when we lost 2 goals in the first 20 minutes, then you're saying to yourself, well, here we go again. But he realised the spirit and the lessons that the club learned from that defeat in May had certainly been tested, and we came through it, I think, with flying colours. Even though we lost a fantastic match, I felt at 2-2 they got away with it, and from that Gascoigne produced 15 minutes of magic, and we came back strong again. And okay, it was too late for when David scored, but I felt that we'd come a long way. It proved to us how much we had just come from that day in May, and we said that if we could show the same improvement on the next time, we would win.
It's that sort of determination and will to win that has been the hallmark of Jim's relationship with Billy Brown. It's a partnership which has become one of the most formidable in the game.
We thought maybe that it wouldn't happen, and for it to work out as well as it has done is remarkable. And you sometimes ask yourself why, because we have been successful everywhere we've been. Obviously we've got something that works, and I just hope that it continue.
I think personally that you need to have the two of them. They complement each other. Billy takes a lot of the training, and the gaffer just takes a back seat and gets his wee bit nebbing here and there just to wind the boys up. But I think they work excellent as a partnership, and I don't think Hearts would have the success without the two of them as it is.
They just complement each other really well. I think they always have. A lot of people say the gaffer's lucky and things like that, but I don't think that's all that true. I think he's probably got a wee bit of luck, but you've got to have a certain degree of skill in your job and things like that to let the way he's turned Hearts around. I think the supporters will always be kind of a legend to them.
But it's a great partnership. It's been a proven success over the past, whenever they started management together. They work very well together. Billy is the one that tends to do the majority of the talking, and Jim's the sort of deep thinking in the background, but Jim will come in and say his piece when it's required.
It's not as if we agree all the time, because we don't. You know, we debate everything, but you know, whatever the final decision is, you know, we always just get on with it. And I mean, why it works, I don't know. I'm not going to look too deeply into it, but it does work, and you know, also we're friends as well, I think.
Between him and Billy, there's a perfect balance here. The manager really takes a back step before the game. It's mainly Billy Brown that does the team talking that, and the gaffer just sits back and sets up the set pieces and stuff like that. And then it's during the match where he comes to life.
You play a bad pass, you see the two of them jumping up and shouting at you, but I think most footballers just sling their manager out because when they're in that situation. It's all right when they're shouting nice things, you'll listen to them then. But I think that's just the way the gaffer and that are, you know what I mean? Like, he's been a Hearts supporter, Hearts player and things like that. Now he's Hearts manager. They just get a wee bit wound up, standing at the side. It's just when you see the veins coming out in the neck and that.
One fixture always guaranteed to set the pulses racing is the Edinburgh Derby, and in Jim's second season as Hearts boss, his success rate continued.
Two of the best performances as he was manager. I think we started the game really well.
Hunton. He gets a bring of the ball through for Robertson. Cameron. Oh, wonderful goal! Colin Cameron with 19 minutes gone, a superb strike. Jim Leighton hitting an athlete. It's Miller who gets back, and Leighton's given it away. Oh my goodness, Jim Leighton, what a blunder. And Colin Cameron eagerly accepts the gift with 29 minutes gone. Cameron's second goal of the game, misery for Jim Leighton. Jackson. Again, Bickford's deep in his own half, gets it away. Here's McCann, showing good pace again. The chance is on for Robertson, he must score! Another milestone in the marvellous career of this little man. It's his 25th goal against Hibernian. It's his 250th goal for Hearts. He's absolutely delighted.
It was a great first half performance, and we came in and, okay, it was about being professional. Hibs did get back into it with a penalty, but it was a great win, and you know, especially when you go down there again at Easter Road. And then on to the Jim Duffy's first game. I mean, that was a performance where we could have scored a lot more goals, and 4-0. It was a tremendous first half display again. So nice when you, as you say, you can go there, and it's a great feeling, you know, 5 minutes before the end when you're up 4-0, and you know the game's practically guaranteed to be success. You get success, so you just wish it would go in that wee bit 5 minutes longer. But it's always nice. I'm sure it'd be the same if Hibs were in that position. But great performances, and the fans always look forward to a good victory over their rivals.
There's no such thing as a normal day in the life of the Hearts manager. This is a look behind the scenes, one Tuesday in October.
What essential defender?
He's getting recorded. We don't want to give any secrets away here. No, we've got on trial. Hello. Hello.
Hey, what else did we say?
Mobile phones. Yeah? Always got a hold of you.
cameras are on you. Again, don't do this, do that, do that. That. Oh. This, that. Holly! Close them down. There's like a disco in there.
Nice sweater, Gary.
What?
Well, how is he?
He's improved a great deal from yesterday, and hoping that he'll get back to kicking a ball tomorrow, and with a view to training Thursday or Friday. I would expect him to be available for the next match, which is Saturday week.
So that's got a big help on the game this weekend. Should be alright.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Next game. So train before the end of the week.
Alright?
Good. Right. Good. Cheers.
Okay.
There's not much more for you to do. I'm happy to know.
What about the stuff I did yesterday? Hi. It's Jim. How you doing? Alright. Listen, 11:30 I need him here for. The medical's at 12. Okay, and if everything goes alright, then hopefully I'll have the press conference at 1:30. Jim MacArthur has just phoned up to confirm that the talks we've had, they're very interested. They'll confirm in the morning everything's okay, and he'll be here at 11:30 for a medical for Alan to take him up for 12, and I hope that if we get the word in the morning, then we'll hold the press conference at 1:30.
Good. It'd be a good signing for us, one. Good player.
Well, he's the one that's been looking for to
scores goals.
Sort of, you know, with the front three's been doing well, but they've had to share it since we.
It's a wee option that we've no got. Wee option up front that somebody can head it in.
No, then you can go over the top as well. So.
Well, I think the fact it's.
Here we go. Here's waving.
Is that a coffee?
Turn the camera off. It's the wife. Ah. Will you bring in a loaf?
Home for Jim, his wife Linda, and their children Louise and Callum is the sleepy borders town of Lauder.
I mean, it's difficult for a Hearts manager or house manager in Edinburgh to have any sort of life at all, but you know, it's great. I've been staying here since '72, and it's about a 45-minute journey out, and there's a lot. You get a chance to gather your thoughts and prepare things and think about things. And the great thing about coming here is that everybody's accepted you as who you are, and not just because you're the Hearts manager. You don't get pestered with, you know, what you should do and what you shouldn't do all the time. Quite simply, when you meet up socially, or anybody during the day, they just ask how things are going, and it lasts a few minutes, and then you're treated like any other person as part of the town. So it has great advantages that way, and as I say, nice, relaxing, peaceful. We don't get many opportunities in football to do that, but certainly out here, it just is a wee chance to get away from it all.
When he does get the chance to relax, golf is Jim's other great passion. He's been club champion at Lauder on 10 separate occasions.
Well, it's a favourite pastime when I get the opportunity. Obviously, that's not as much as it used to be, but nice to get back, and mostly on a Sunday morning, like to come up to Lauder and play around, and this is typical conditions for medal rounds you play up here, because it can be a very tough 9-hole golf course. Yeah, I think most footballers are very keen. When I was a footballer, that the time we did have spare, we spent a lot of it on the golf course, and I managed over the years to keep a single-figure handicap. I don't know why I'm at 4 at the moment, because I think that's just because I don't play in the competitions now, because I've not got the time. But a few times I've managed to get around. I've been there or thereabouts. But as I say, it's the best way I like to relax. And sometimes when I'm striking the ball on a Sunday morning, I think of some people that's unpopular with me and manage to hit it a few hundred yards down the fairway.
At the start of Jim's 3rd season in charge at Tynecastle, he knew the expectations of the Hearts fans had grown. Having gone close on 2 occasions, it was time for the club to start winning things again.
We always wanted to progress. I said that it couldn't happen overnight, and we wanted to progress. And you know, from going in the bottom before I went there, I said the last 2 games of the season at the wrong end of the table to fight relegation. Suddenly we went a couple of years of being in the top 4. Disappointed to miss out in Europe the 2nd year after making it the 1st year. But that was our own fault. We relied, we thought in the semi-final that Kilmarnock or Dundee United and Celtic would get through, and that we'd get it through their league position. But the lesson there is that you don't rely on anybody else, you do it yourself. And we made that point to the players after we missed out in Europe. So going into the new season, we knew that we had to do better than we've been doing, and because we had probably consolidated that 2nd season of being in the top 4. As I say, we made another cup final with the Coca-Cola Cup final. So it was now, I think, time that we showed that if there was going to be improvement. We brought a couple of players in, and I think we got off to a reasonable start, and then a wee period just after the start, we started to hit teams with 2 or 3 outstanding performances. We just couldn't play against us in the first half-hour of matches, and we were winning games, and the confidence grew. Suddenly we went on a wee run, and suddenly we were at the top of the league, and people were saying, well, it'll never last, and blah, blah, and firing us up, and they kept trying to get us to admit that we were serious challengers. But we talked about a lot at the club that we would be, but we never said very much, and we just said we'd do all the talking on the pitch.
Cameron. Ball breaks for him. This could be another one here. Cameron. Oh, great saving challenge there. Well, this game almost turned on its head. The fans still roaring, Hearts on. Good ball through for Fulton! Cameron! This is remarkable stuff now.
It was on the 20th of September that Hearts hit the top for the first time that season. John Robertson scored the winner against Dundee United.
Chested down by Ritchie for Poynton. That's for Stefan Adam. It's a good ball too from Poynton. Away from Brian Martin, squares it to Colin Cameron. 6 minutes gone, and Hearts are in front. Weir for Hamilton. Denham missed his kick. And onside is Stefan Adam. Great chance for number 2. And a great piece of finishing from the Frenchman. Now Weir. That's for Hamilton. He's got time. Knocks it down and Neil McCann scores. Number 3 for Hearts. They're running away with this. That's well done, Faulkner. Finds Malachi. One back by Cameron. Break on here for Hearts. Fulton alongside him. And this is Jim Hamilton. A chance for Hamilton. Number 4 for Hearts. Brilliant finishing from Hamilton.
As the winning run continued, there was another victory over Hibernian for the Hearts fans to savour. John Robertson, who else, scored the opening goal. And substitute Jose Katongo weaved his own brand of magic to clinch the 3 points. One game that epitomised Jim Jefferies' love for the club was against Celtic at a crucial part of the season. Hearts were trailing 1-0 late in the match.
The Celtic game here was one that I can remember when I seen it on the telly. When we scored the goal, I think he was standing further on the park than I was, but it just shows you how much the club means to him. And it's a bit silly to myself, he's Hearts staff, and he just wants to do the best for the club. And we're all the same here, and I think his emotions that day showed that.
That's the supporters came out in here. We knew it was a big game because we'd stayed away the night before and we got the result through from that Dunfermline had equalised in the last minute at Ibrox. So I know this was a really big game, and Celtic probably knew that they could be heading back up the M8 top of the league, the top of Rangers, and they were better than us on the day. They did have chances to kill us off, but when Katongo scored, well, that was just, it looked all over, and then playing injury time. And I knew even a draw that day would keep us, that it would just make it everything as before. So I just run towards Paul Ritchie was the one that I seen. He started going towards me, and of course I realised I was 20 yards on the pitch before I thought I shouldn't be here. And I turned and got myself back to the dugout as quick as possible. And but that was the supporter side. I think. One of the things, if the manager shows the same enthusiasm, but there's nothing better for the manager than his team scoring. Nothing worse when the team lose a goal. So hopefully I wouldn't mind doing 2 more runs on the pitch for big games like that.
The league challenge finally faltered just a few matches from the end of the season, but the cup run went all the way. Thomas Flogel scored the first against Clydebank. And from another free kick, David Weir sealed the victory. Jose Katongo was on target in the 4th round against Albion Rovers. Colin Cameron made it 2 from the penalty spot. And Katongo scored his second late in the game.
Ayr United know this could be very dangerous indeed. Steve Fulton so precise normally with the left foot. It's gone to Hamilton at the far post. Takes his time, takes the deflection, then bombs and knocks it away. And eventually whacked out by Derek Anderson, only to Cameron. Now the chance for Paul Ritchie! And Ritchie has hammered that one into the roof of the net. Hearts 1-0 up after 8 minutes. Naismith, good cross again! 2-0 for Hearts. Thomas Flogel with a header. He's knocked that one past Trainer, giving himself a lot to do. He gets there. It's a decent cross. Flogel knocks it back. Hamilton battling away there. The ball wouldn't come free, but it does for Steve Fulton. And Hearts go 3-1 ahead. Good play. Fulton has the opening. He finds Grant Murray. Who's well headed away by Trainer, only as far as Gary Locke. And it almost caused, but it has caused a real problem for Finn Bogason. And Jim Hamilton has pushed Hearts 4-1 ahead.
And that set up a semi-final clash, ironically, against Falkirk.
It was a game I was always concerned about because Falkirk were rivalry between, obviously, there was a situation where a lot of players that we knew who were capable of putting in good performances. They'd gained massive confidence for the Celtic, knocking Celtic out the year before. So they knew that, you know, if they were prepared to go in there and beat Celtic over 2 games, the Hearts weren't going to frighten them. And they knew that on the day anybody's capable of beating anybody. So, but we got off to a great start, and you know, Falkirk didn't lie down, and I think the pressure was all on Hearts and none on Falkirk.
It's well judged by Jim Hamilton, and in from Stefan Adam. 5 minutes gone. It's a dream start for Hearts.
And I still thought if we got a second goal we'd kill him off, but Kevin McAllister, who was rightly man of the match, I mean, scored just an unbelievable goal, and I would have settled for 1-1 at the time. I think the whole team, if they were honest, would have settled for 1-1 because they were definitely a team with 10 minutes to go. I mean, I looked up and it said 80 minutes, and I was hoping it would be 89. But the one thing we have shown a lot in the last couple of years is the character. I mean, you've got people like McCann, and who was having a quiet game, but he's liable at any time to win you the match. And I think the pace and movement of Adam and McCann in the last 10 minutes definitely got us through to the final.
Adam, good reverse pass for Neil McCann. McCann in behind Neil Barry, and Neil McCann, and it's Stefan Adam! Right on 90 minutes, and the Frenchman wins Hearts a place in the final. David Weir's header. Neil McCann, he's away from Neil Berry. Neil McCann, a chance for number 3 for Hearts, he's done it! And now the Hearts fans can celebrate. That's 3-1.
It was Jim's 3rd final as Hearts manager. Again, Rangers were the opposition, and that made victory all the sweeter.
No doubt about that. I mean, if you'd given me one team if we were going to win it, Rangers was the team we were wanting. But again, it was down to looking at what we'd done against them in the season, telling the players, and it started right away on this Monday when we got to the training ground down at Stratford. We said that the way that we play must suit Rangers. They scored 13 goals against us in the league. We haven't beaten them. We have to change it, because if we don't, we're going to end up giving them 2 or 3 goals. Because I think, even though we've had all the plaudits and we like playing that way, if we're wanting to seriously win the cup, it doesn't matter what performances are there. I don't care if all the statistics prove that Rangers are the better side and have more corners than that. If we want to win the game, we have to do things differently. And we did, and we worked hard to do that, and the players carried it out to a T, getting the penalty and everything. It was just meant our game plan was made now.
So the 113th Scottish Cup final is underway, and Paul Ritchie, one of the survivors of the team on the wrong end of that 5-1 scoreline, and there's Gary Naismith, player who really has established himself well in the Hearts team this season, looking for and finding Stefan Adam. Steve Fulton. And he's made a distinctive break, and it's a penalty! Would you believe it? 30 seconds gone. Fulton's weaving run brought the challenge, which Willie Young thought was an offence, and he's pointed to the penalty spot, and what a dramatic start here. And now now more than ever, Rangers will be relying on the experience of Andy Gorham, who's never been beaten in his previous Scottish Cup appearances. But he's been beaten for the first goal of the game, and it's Cameron who's given Hearts a real edge with a penalty in the second minute. And Adam stole in, and it's 2-0, and Amoruso for a moment went to sleep, and Stephen Adam took full advantage, and Hearts now send their supporters into raptures with a real opportunity of winning their first silverware in 36 years.
I told you I've been a player, I've been a supporter, and you just need to ask how the supporters were feeling, and you'll know exactly how I was feeling, because it just turned out to be the greatest day I've ever had in my life, and it always will be, because this time will be more special than any other time, and that's what I dreamed about, because I felt that so long and all the heartache, wouldn't it be nice the first manager to do it at that time would probably experience something that maybe another manager come in and maybe say if he wins a cup, or even myself wins the next cup, it won't be the same. It won't be the same. It's given a lot of people for the first time in their lives who actually believed that never in their lifetime Hearts would win a cup. Never believed it. That maybe their fathers or their grandfathers who'd went along and maybe seen them win it in '56 or the time before that, but I'd never ever seen Hearts win a cup. Had a couple of chances to been let down so often. The '86 scenario was must have dug in deep. So I knew it was going to be special, and it was very, very a great satisfaction to be the manager to do that. I don't think anybody will ever experience anything like that again.
Well, it was absolutely fantastic, you know, when you consider that. I think it was only about 10 years since I was a manager in Musselburgh Athletic and Jim was a manager at Gallifieradine, and here we were 10 years, which is, you know, not that long really, to be lifting the Scottish Cup against Rangers in Glasgow. Was a great achievement, you know, a personal achievement for me as well, obviously for Jim as well, and it was a great feeling, and you know, to be able to on the day maybe out-manoeuvre Walter Smith and Archie Knox for where we had came from was an achievement that we're really proud of, I think.
Oh, that was great. None against the Rangers, but it was still great. But you're just amazed at it sometimes, what happens. Oh, yeah, that was a great day. That's when we all got drunk at night, wasn't it? So we're hoping to get another cup, eh? Another drink. We hope he gets another cup, we'll get another drink.
His efforts that season earned Jim the accolade Manager of the Year, a trophy he cherishes alongside his other successes. But having re-established Hearts as a force to be reckoned with, what does the future hold for Jim Jefferies?
There's more I want to achieve at Hearts, first and foremost, and I would like, after all the years of waiting to win a trophy, I'd like to be the manager to get one so quickly again, and then you really would be a sort of legend in manager terms to Hearts, and that's something I would like to do. But I know that you can, there's enough time to spend at a club, but you need to do well at that club to get the opportunity to move on. But it wouldn't be the end of the world if I finished my career at Hearts.
I believe the ambition can be met at Tynecastle. It's not going to be met just because the backbone, the spine of the club are Hearts supporters. What is going to lift us forward is the restructuring that's taken place, the reconstruction of the stadium, the fact that we now have 11,000 season ticket holders, the fact that last season our average home gate was above 15,000. Football is a business. It's got to be run as a business, and this place is now run as a business. But it's a business with an increasing income and an increasing turnover. And all of that is geared towards keeping Hearts at the top of the Scottish football, the rightful place, and hopefully challenging in Europe on a regular basis. And for the reasons I've stated, Richard, I genuinely believe all of these things are achievable, hopefully every season.
It's been a long time since they won the league. I think it's a lot more difficult to win the league for Rangers and Celtic given the resources they have. So therefore it would be an even greater achievement to do that. We showed it was possible last season. It's very early in the season at the moment, but it showed it could be done. And I think it would be a greater achievement if we managed to pull it off. And I've said before, when I've been set targets, I've managed to try and achieve them, and I'm going to be pulling out all the stops to try and get Hearts to win the championship, because that will then really make you a legend in the Hearts supporters' eyes, and that will be a nice way to finish the career.